I shouldn't even be making this video. I know I'm going to get flamed so hard when I take and I show numbers and statistics, because people really don't like numbers and statistics, but I got to make it. Hey everybody, it's Patrick from wpbuilderhelper here with you again, and today I'm going to deep dive into why I pick WordPress as my website go-to of choice, and why I go to it so often compared to other solutions that are out on the market. So hopefully you'll stick with me, and hopefully you won't discount this website, and maybe we'll have some constructive criticism down below with other people who are maybe experts in different types of websites that are out there. All right, so without hesitation, let's get started. So one of the reasons that I wanted to take a look at WordPress overall, and why I kind of use it, and why I'm comfortable with it, and why I think it's a good website builder, is for several reasons. Number one, I've been using it for quite some time, but I'm also, like I said, I'm going to drop statistics in this video. So there's a reason why I want to take and I want to go into this, like truly deep dive into it. Some people are not going to be interested. Some people are automatically going to turn off this video right now, as a matter of fact. So if you're one of those people and you already have your mind set up that I use Shopify for everything, or I use Webflow for everything. Webflow is the answer for every single website I do, or I use Wix, or I use Squarespace. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. The fact is that there's no one solution out there that is going to solve all of your problems, and that also includes WordPress. So sadly, it sounds like it's a good idea because you're like, wait a second, you just said it's your go-to choice. But at the same time, stick with me. So one of the reasons why I truly like WordPress is because it's been around for a long time. WordPress kind of started off as a blogging platform. It did start off as a blogging platform. And then it eventually kind of mutated, I guess you could say, into what it is today, which is a blogging platform with all these additional attachments kind of set on top of it, which I don't think that a lot of people like. I think if there's any one drawback to WordPress, I would say that's one of the biggest. A lot of people I see in the communities out there say, well, I'm a purist and I only do everything in HTML and CSS. I don't do anything in anything different. And WordPress is kind of a conglomerate of different things mutated together into one. Regardless of whether you agree with that or not, it kind of works. But let's look at some facts, all right? So here we are at a website. It's called W3Techs, and I know you can't see the URL of it, but needless to say that this is a website that tracks user data and statistics and things like that, and it also tracks market share. I'm not exactly sure how they do it, but I'm certain that it's pretty up to date, because as a matter of fact, if we go and we look at the very bottom, it even says W3Techs August 19th, 2020. So you can kind of see on there the different dates. So one of the things that I get hammered about in the comments is why people are looking at certain things, like maybe they're like, well, why would you recommend Shopify over WordPress? You see this green bar? This green bar is their market share, and I believe that the other bar is how many websites are actually used by WordPress, or it might be a conglomerate, whatever. You can see that WordPress wins out by a lot. The second is actually Shopify, and I really do believe that one of the reasons why Shopify is so popular right now is because of all the Amazon websites and the drop shipping websites. I think those drop shipping stuff, they just have a popular following right now because it's the quote unquote cool thing to do right now, is to have a drop shipping site. And so people are setting up these Shopify sites and they're doing drop shipping and they're doing things like that. And it's got a decent market share because it's even got a bigger market share than Drupal or Joma, which is another, they're two older CMS management, content management systems that are probably about equal in age almost to WordPress to some extent. They might even be older, but they're not very popular because they're harder to work with. And so most developers don't like working with them and stuff like that. Well, then you've got Wix and you've got Squarespace, you've got Bitrix, you've got Blogger, Magneto, OpenCart, PrestaShop, Weebly is down here. Then you get into Dreamweaver, GoDaddy, Website Builder. I can't believe that even has market share, but it does. And then all the way down at the bottom, guess what? You got Webflow. And it's right above front page. Now I get it. Webflow is not, it doesn't deserve this. It doesn't deserve to be down this low. As a matter of fact, how this has even got market share, the only thing I can tell you is, once again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, people just build websites with whatever's easy for them and whatever they go to. I mean, Dreamweaver is higher than Webflow right now, according to market share. So for those people who are saying, well, you know, why are you picking this over that? Well, that's one of the reasons. I mean, when you take and you look at the data and statistics, WordPress is a safer bet than any of these other sites. Even a safer bet than Wix or Squarespace, which I know a lot of people have spent a lot of time learning those two systems, but in fact, WordPress is just dominating it. And you don't necessarily need to go with who's popular. You know, I'm sure there's website companies out there that specifically focus on Weebly, and they specifically focus on Wix, and they specifically focus on Squarespace and Shopify sites and all of that. And they make a decent living doing that. So you could focus on any one of these if you wanted to. There's people out there who focus on Webflow. There's whole entire channels made for Webflow. So it's not fair to say, oh yeah, WordPress is the king, so I go with the king. That's not why I do it. I do it because I'm comfortable with WordPress. I understand WordPress. I like WordPress. It's a good site. WordPress is just, it's a much better solution for me. I mean, that's truly what it turns into. And part of the reason why that is because when you take and you really deep dive into WordPress, you find that there's just way more options with WordPress. And that's where I really like it. There's plenty of options with Shopify. And sometimes Shopify is a better choice if you're building an e-commerce than going with like something like WooCommerce. But it's not all the time. And sometimes somebody wants Wix, and Wix is the right choice. But once again, it's not all the time. One of the things I've been getting in the community a lot is, hey, why don't you check out this builder, or why don't you check out this builder or this builder? I specifically only focus on builders that deal with WordPress. And I try and do that, at least right now, for the purpose because WordPress's ecosystem is so gigantic, it takes a lot. There's plenty of builders out there for WordPress specifically. And it is hard to cover all of them because they have a lot of different technology that's out there. So if it works for WordPress, you can guarantee at some point I'm going to cover it. I'm going to try and cover Beaver Builder. I'm going to try and cover Thrive Themes. I'm trying to cover Themify right now. I've got a very nice viewer that allowed me to like look into, they basically built me a setup and they're allowing me to look into all of that. So all of that's going to get judged and they're going to get looked at. But in essence, if you ask, well, why don't you cover Weebly? Why don't you cover Blogger? Why don't you cover Wix? It's because I kind of focus on WordPress. It is what it is. It's kind of my go-to. So that's what this channel is about. So if you're somebody who's maybe looking for Webflow, there's other channels that are out there that cover Webflow. I will eventually cover the difference between Webflow and WordPress, or WordPress and Drupal, and WordPress and Wix, and why I like those. And, you know, heads up, for most of these, one of the reasons why I don't like Shopify, Wix, and Squarespace is because they are what I call closed ecosystems. That means it's not an open source ecosystem, kind of like WordPress is. Drupal and Joomla are both open source, if I'm not mistaken, and a bunch of other ones that are on here are open source. But I don't like having to pay for additional add-ons just because. And that's where WordPress really comes in and just makes everything so much easier. So if we go to the WordPress themes, you can see on here there is a ton of themes. And they have just the greatest directory of just themes that you can just take and pull up. And most of these themes, surprise, surprise, are free. And when you add them on top of page builders, you just have a devastating combination where you can literally build whatever you want. And some of these are so lightweight and they are so good at what they do that some of them you don't even need a page builder. Some of them you could just use Gutenberg. You know, one of the ones that I think that everybody's going to, and they're saying it's the new flavor of the week, is Cadence. And I don't even see it out here because they haven't released it, but Cadence is a pretty popular one that's out. But you know, there's Astra and everything like that. I mean, people like that. But the point of this is to show you that you can basically just go in here. There's almost 4,000 themes in here for free that you can download and install without ever having to pay a dime. That's beauty, and that's a beauty that you don't see with kind of some of these other builders. They don't have that. I mean, I'm sure that some of these other ones, these other CMSs, I'm sure that Shopify's probably got a ton of themes that are out there, and I'm sure there are a ton of them that are free. But in most cases, for a Wix, for a Squarespace, you're going to pay for a theme because it's a closed ecosystem. WordPress is open. So if someone wants to make a free theme, they make a free theme, and then boom, it's on the directory, and you can kind of go into it and you can do whatever you want to. You know, I know a lot of people like GeneratePress. Yeah, there's just so many themes you can pick from. You have so many options that there is not one that is right for you. And then on top of that, when we go into the plugins, you have 57,000 plugins. Now, most of these, I will tell you, are paid plugins, meaning that you are not going to get away with some of these are free and a lot of them are paid. So they're going to give you some functionality, and then other ones, they're just going to give you like almost no functionality, and you're going to have to pay for it. So I get how that can be expensive to kind of take and go into that. But you have great plugins like Contact Form 7, which is, it's okay. You know, it's not bad. It's a contact form. You could use it as a contact form. But I mean, it's not the best contact form out there. You got Yoast, which everyone loves Yoast. But there's other ones that are out there that are just as good as Yoast, and they're free, and you don't have to even pay for them. So that's what I like about the WordPress ecosystem, is that you have this kind of competition where if you have a theme and there's this baseline for themes, the bar is slowly raising over time, and it's getting harder and harder. So you'll have a theme come out, and maybe, let's take Cadence. Somebody had said on the forums that's the flavor of the week. So you take Cadence, for instance. Cadence has just recently released their theme, and they've given you header and footer options built into the free theme. That was unheard of. That wasn't something that you did. You had to pay for that. If you bought Ocean's WP or you bought another theme, they didn't have the ability to do headers and footers. And you can do that now with Cadence. So that bar raises a little bit because people keep trying to one-up each other over and over again. And so you see the same thing happen with page builders. Page builders come out with a new feature, another page builder copies it, next page builder copies it, it becomes standard. So that kind of thing happens. Oh, we all do CSS, it's standard. We all do headers and footers, it's standard. We're all theme, we're all to the point where we can create complete themes, it's a standard. Those things slowly start to inch up further and further, and they think that they're pulling away from each other, but in essence they're not. So to me, that's one of the beauties of WordPress. It always has been, is that you've got that and you can do anything with it. Another thing I really like is the fact that you can kind of pick and choose your own hosting. A lot of these you can't pick the hosting. So Squarespace, for instance, I'm 90% sure. Let's try Squarespace. 90% sure that you can't pick your hosting for Squarespace. 90% sure you can't pick your hosting for Wix either, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think. Yeah, so here's all the website stuff. And they've got some enterprise solutions. I would love to know how they do the enterprise portion of it. I would love to know that. But when you take and you go into here, so you see that you've got some enterprise and whatever, here's the overview solution. Do you notice that just off the bat, like if I'm just looking at this, you notice what I'm not seeing though? I don't see anything that says anything about price. It's like they hide it from you. See? They do this free trial shit, and it just bothers the hell out of me. Why? You have to go all the way to the bottom to see price. So here's your pricing, and so you get a free domain. See, unlimited bandwidth and storage. So the problem with this that I don't like is that anybody who goes with unlimited bandwidth and storage knows that if you go to, say, like a Bluehost, which is, there's really nothing wrong with Bluehost. People try and pick on Bluehost because they're part of the I can't remember the name of the group, EIG or something like that. But in all honesty, Bluehost is okay. It's what I would call a starter hosting package, and I've known some affiliate people who have gone into hundreds of thousands of visitors in a month with Bluehost using some of their more dedicated hosting and stuff like that. And in all reality, it's fine. If for a beginner person, it's fine, and it's cheap, and that's the beauty of it. So part of my problem is you don't know what type of hosting this is, and you can't change it. So if I don't like Bluehost, I can go to another host or another host or another host. And yeah, that's a pain in the butt, but there's plenty of hosting sites out there. If I want higher price in hosting because I'm building something that's going to be on the news, I don't have to worry about it failing because I have a quote-unquote unlimited package when they're going to try and sell you something that's going to be more and more expensive as you grow. And that's kind of partly where I get angry, is that these sites do this and they don't give you the information of what you're spending, and they also don't tell you how much this stuff really costs, because a lot of people, they may pay annually, they may pay monthly. Well, monthly, it increases dramatically. I mean, $46 for, let's see what they throw in here, $46 for advanced shipping and a cart abandonment. You can get all that for really cheap using some of the stuff that's out there on WordPress, and it's not going to be $46 a month if you take and you play your cards right. I think part of the biggest problem with WordPress has been that it's got so many options that it's overwhelming to new people. But anyone who's a web designer knows that sometimes you need to just take and you need to inform your client about what's going on with it and why you're picking what you're picking. So that in a nutshell is why I pick WordPress, and that's why I like WordPress. And I know it's not going to make everybody happy, but it is what it is. It's why I pick it. So the point of this is I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm not trying to make you think that you should use WordPress if you're a Webflow person, or I'm not trying to think that you should change if you're a Wix person or you're an agency that uses Wix. But I do think that with the height of how popular WordPress is, you can't ignore it. It's to that point. WordPress is just it's powering almost 40% of the websites on the internet right now. You can't ignore it. You just can't. Even if you don't like it, even if you don't like updating plugins and updating themes and doing all of that stuff, you cannot ignore WordPress. It's one of those things where even if you don't like it, you have to know about it, because it's the biggest builder, the biggest CMS that's out there right now currently on the market. That's not saying 10 years from now that doesn't change and someone doesn't knock WordPress off the pedestal, but I think it's going to take a lot, because WordPress is always evolving, always adapting, always coming out with new, better ways to make their platform more like the things that are already out there. I think we're seeing that kind of with Gutenberg. It's adapting more to the Wix, more to the Squarespace, easier, so that somebody who picks up WordPress can easily build a site without ever thinking about it. And I think that that's pretty important, because it makes more people come to the platform and more people end up liking it. And the more people that like it, if you're a person that specializes in WordPress, it makes it much easier to build and much easier to customize, rather than having to import someone's site from Wix or Squarespace when they've realized they're robbing them and they're bending them over a barrel. So for the record, I will never like a closed ecosystem website. You won't get me to like it because I think that they are trash, and I will never think that they're not trash. That's just my opinion. You may think something different. You may say, hey, Wix is fine, it does fine. Squarespace is fine, it does fine. To me, they're trash. I don't like them. Shopify is okay. I think Shopify is pretty good. I've looked at Webflow. I think Webflow is pretty good. I'm not going to cover it, and I'm not going to spend time learning it because there's plenty of people out there who are just like you, who maybe you do know it and maybe you're great at it. Well, then WordPress is crap to you. I get it. And at the end of the day, nobody is going to change your mind. And so stick to your guns, stick with what you're good at, learn something, play with it, and go to town. Hopefully this video has helped you. If you're somebody who's just thinking about getting into WordPress, my channel specifically focuses on that. So I hope you've liked it. And if you're brand new, go ahead and like and subscribe down below, and I will see you guys next time.